Hi everyone, welcome to An Hour With LawSikho. This is Ramanuj Mukherjee from lawsikho.com and iPleaders. And with me I have Jigar Shah, who is a chartered accountant and a GST expert to tell us about, how the GST has really played out. This is a, hotly debated topic. People have very strong opinions about this, and it is even political to some extent to take a stance on whether GST has worked well or not. This discussion is not political. We want to look at it technically and understand how GST is working, if it has created new employment opportunities, how it has impacted the economy, and we are talking about hits and misses of GST, right? So this is going to be a 1 hour freewheeling chat about GST, and if you're interested in GST, you're definitely going to enjoy it. So first of all, let us welcome our guest Jigar Shah. Hi Jigar.
Hi Ramanuj, good evening everyone and happy Janmashtami to everyone.
Yes, same to you. So,
Yeah.
This is like a very sensitive topic these days. Whether GST is good or not, people do not argue about that. Usually, people say that GST is good, but there was a faulty implementation, right? This is like you hear it in news, you hear it everywhere. So, what is this faulty implementation? GST is good part, I understand, but what is this faulty implementation everybody talks about?
Yeah. So there are two parts to this. So the first thing is that GST law. So GST law as such, it is a good act. I mean, there was a separate indirect tax act in every state before GST came in, and then there was service tax and excise. All this is out, and then you have only three acts to say. Like there is a state GST act and CGST act. CGST and SGST are one and the same. Now you have CGST and IGST, which are two acts. So all other acts are out, and you just have two acts now, which you need to focus on. So as a concept, as a law, it is a good thing which happened. But while implementing, there were two aspects. There were few provisions in the law which were, I would say, premature. We should have waited for a while. We should have waited for the law to settle down, and then we should have introduced those provisions. That was one thing. Another thing which we failed miserably is the technology front. So the kind of volume that India has and the kind of preparations that we had, it was not up to the mark. From the very first day, technology was not up to the mark. The site was getting hanged. We were not able to implement the return process that was supposed to be implemented. Even till date, GST
Jigar, I have to interrupt you for a moment. Actually, what is happening is that we cannot hear you very clearly. There is some strange disturbance when you speak. Okay, is it possible for you to try using a headphone, because we are not able to hear you very clearly? Like there is some strange static noise that is coming through. Sorry for
is this fine?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, much better. Please carry on.
Yeah. So one aspect was that there were some provisions which was a bit premature. We should have waited for a few years for the law to settle down and then introduce them, which were introduced on day one. And then there was the technology front. The kind of volume that our country has and the kind of technology which was deployed by GSTN, it was not up to the mark. From day one, there were technical glitches and it played a havoc. Even today, we have not implemented. In fact, what was envisaged never got implemented. And we have kept on changing the return filing process and the return filing formats. So that is where the compliance part is something where we failed. And because the compliance failed, there were issues of refund getting stuck up. Now GST frauds are happening because the compliance is not up to the mark. People are issuing fake invoices and there is no way to catch hold of them because the matching is not working right now. So these are the issues, but overall, from law perspective, from a long-term perspective, this is going to be with us for at least 50 years down the line. It is a good thing which has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand when you say it is a good thing has happened in terms of, complications of tax laws. Taxes were like massive, especially on real goods, right? But if I think of it from the perspective that we are trying to move towards a knowledge economy, anyway, India 60% of our economy is service sector, and there we did not have so many laws, right? So manufacturing, this is like a giant leap in terms of how simplified it is, and the fact that you don't have to pay things like excise duty and whatnot, and every road, you have to pay stop at every turn of the road and pay octroi and whatnot. All of that is gone, so it's a huge jump for the sector which was dealing with the trading and transportation and manufacturing. But is it such a good thing for the service sector? Because we started with a 5% service tax, and today we are paying 18% service tax. And the service sector did not have so many complications, right? We were pretty much fine to start with. It seems that GST has brought more complications than before. Is that correct?
Yeah. So once again, from perspective, definitely there has been an increase in compliance. So in the service tax regime, there was a facility to take a centralized registration. So let us take an example for a bank. Now there are chances that the bank had an option to have only one registration for whole country and file only one service tax return. But in GST, provider is required to have a GST registration from where it is providing services. So now required to have GST registration in all the states that and do their compliances accordingly. Right. So this is the major shift as far as tax are concerned. Yes, compliances have increased. It has got a bit complicated, but from a cost perspective, if you see, like a service provider, like you are a service provider, IP Leaders is a service provider. If you purchased a laptop in 2015 or 2016, you paid VAT on that, correct? And you are not eligible to take credit of that. It became a cost for you. But in GST, when you purchase a laptop, a GST is charged on that, and you can get a credit of the tax that you are paying. So somewhere it has also helped you in reducing your cost, wherein now you are able to leverage the taxes that you pay. Another thing, as a service provider, as a small service provider, if someone goes in the earlier regime and he used to get two rates, एक bill वाला rate, एक without bill वाला rate, and there is to be difference of 12% and 15% of the cost. Definitely, जो service provider है, कोई businessman है, common man है, वो बोले bill वाला दे दे, I will get directly 12% discount. Now that does not happen, because for a businessman, you know, for that service provider now, even if he pays GST, he can claim credit on it. So that does not becomes a cost for him. So it has definitely increased the compliance. It has definitely increased the discipline in the service provider, and now there is a decrease in the leakage of tax. So that is something that we need to understand from broad perspective. Yes, there is increasing compliance. One cannot deny that, but for this a facility of quarterly returns. Earlier there was monthly return. Now it is quarterly returns for those who are having turnover less than 5 CR. This is going to be implemented from January. But all those who are having turnover of less than 5 CR, you can file your quarterly returns, which are quite simplified now.
I have a question about the effectiveness of the current regime. Like, so what happens if let's say I have a business and I decide that I am about to cross 20 lakhs of threshold, and I just start another entity and do the business under that entity instead, and then I start another entity, and nothing stops me from doing this, right?
Yeah.
So how is the
So
government
by
tackling?
another entity, by another entity, you will be required to have incorporate a separate,
Yeah,
either a
cool.
company or a LLP or
Incorporating a
so you
partnership,
will
I
have,
think, is like 1,500 rupees it costs on MCA. Isn't that the case?
yeah. So in that case, or LLP and partnership firms, you will have to file separate income tax returns for those partnership firms. If
Yeah.
there is an assessment, separate assessment in income tax for that. So you'll have to so there will be in compliances when it comes to income tax over there. Another thing is also the perception, right? So having a registration number also carries some. So if there is a service provider, or if there is a trader who works with me, and if he does not have GST registration number, I know his turnover is less than 20 lakhs. I know that he is a small player, you know. So
Correct.
perception very important thing when it comes to business sense. That is the only thing. The law allows you to create different partnership firms. You can do that. You are not if you do that, you are not being non-compliant as far as GST is concerned. So that's fine. That's your choice. But the thing is,
Right.
you will have to have separate books of accounts for that.
Yes, yes, yes. So I think if somebody is in the B2C, B2B space, it will make no sense because anyway the
Yeah.
client is paying GST, so he doesn't mind paying GST. But yeah, I think if you're dealing with smaller, maybe B2C or something, it will make a difference for small players at least. Okay, so
Yes. Yes.
if the one of the interesting stories I recently came across is that every year 30,000 HNIs are leaving India. Okay, they're leaving India, going to other countries, may take citizenship or may not take citizenship, but their tax residency is shifting to other countries. Especially people who are making money on the internet, even like technology experts, designers, people who are HNIs by doing this kind of professions, and maybe they're running small businesses, serving clients abroad, especially because right now Indian coders are doing a lot of work, Indian designers are doing a lot of work for foreign countries. uh, that money that people are, it's a global marketplace, so whoever can pick up the project, there are so many websites like TopTal and like different websites where people are doing this kind of work. And the statistics say that 30,000 Indians are leaving India. And one of the hypotheses as to why they are leaving India, HNIs. I'm not talking about people leaving on H1B visa and going abroad. Somebody from Punjab
So this
migrating to
is
Canada.
every year or every month.
Every year, 30,000
Okay.
people every year. Okay, and one of the explanation given is that because India is so highly taxed, income tax, GST now, it is making, especially what used to happen earlier is that if you were providing services on the internet, there was no, probably no, you were not paying GST because you are exporting service. What happened with GST? If you can explain.
So there is some misunderstanding over there. Even now, if you are providing an export of service, like there is a exemption in GST as well. You just have to file an LUT, which can be done online. Earlier, when GST was introduced, it was quite a taxing thing to do, and that facility was available of filing an LUT to only specific set of taxpayers. But now every exporter can file a LUT. This LUT can be filed online. It does not take even 15 minutes to do that. And once you have that LUT, you can supply services without paying any tax. So one thing we should really one thing which is really commendable is the speed at which this thing has evolved, and the speed at which the corrective actions which are taken by the authorities. In last 1 year, the kind of corrective actions has been taken, the speed at which has been taken has okay. So yes, initially one argument can be that it should not have been introduced in such a way that so many corrective actions were required. That can be one argument, but we should also appreciate that as and when, because for
That,
authorities also it was for the first time, and in all over the world for the first time it was getting implemented at such a huge scale. So yes, they made huge mistakes, there were bloopers that they did, but corrective actions have been strong. And even
but I
now
actually
in
want to ask
GST,
you this, like, if
if
there are,
you
Indians So basically, the news in the market is that if you're an Indian service provider primarily serving foreign clients, it doesn't make sense to incorporate India. It doesn't make sense to be tax resident in India. Rather, you might as well incorporate elsewhere in Dubai or Singapore, which takes about very little time to incorporate, and then you hardly pay any income tax there. In Dubai, there's no income tax. I think they are introducing 5% VAT, and this is what is happening. So, in your experience or in your advice, what is the situation?
Definitely, India is one of the countries where taxes are like very high, but government is taking corrective actions over there as well. Okay, that is an individual choice to be taken, wherein if you can afford to take a tax residency certificate in some another country, and if you are ready to shift to some another country just for the tax benefit that you can you want to have, it's a personal choice. But definitely, for large corporations like Flipkart, I guess Flipkart is registered in Singapore. Okay, so when entities are that at that level, these things make a lot of difference. The where you are registered makes a lot of difference. So that the government needs to take care of, like the authorities need to understand. Hello, Ramanuj, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I'm there. I can
yeah,
carry.
authorities also are required to understand that we need to create an environment which is business friendly. Okay, and people want to come in India and register, and not they don't want to go out of India and take their business out of India, which is working really against us. It is happening right now. I cannot deny that it is not happening right now. Yes, it is happening right now. It is, and it is not a good thing for the country.
No, that's true. But it is undoubtedly happening. Even like HNIs are parking their wealth outside India because of more favorable rules and laws.
But it is more to do with income tax than GST.
Correct, correct. But even if the fact that service tax is so high here, like for example in Russia it's just 4%. You have VAT and there's no service tax. I mean that's one country I have been to, so I know it personally. But even in other countries like I think in Dubai they are introducing a 5% VAT. Otherwise there's no tax. Qatar has
Yeah.
no income tax, no tax.
So like you said, so Dubai VAT. When
Yes.
we also introduced VAT, the rates were less. So even they will involve, and Dubai has oil, Dubai has other things. We are a large country with 100 CR, 130 CR population, with only 5 CR, 7 CR
I'm not
people
confident. Right? So whatever it is, right?
filing.
Whatever it is. I'm
Yeah,
just saying that how is it
you have to
possible
leave it.
passing a value judgment on Indian tax system or why
Yeah,
the
yeah.
so
Yes, yes.
but this is I think this trend is going to continue over time, and especially so there's one I was looking at this phenomenon. I was looking at this provision that foreign countries which are providing services over the internet to Indian companies or Indian more than company Indian individuals, right? They are
Yes,
supposed
yes.
to pay a GST as well. So how is the implementation of that?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
is the Indian government going to implement this? Let's say I am sitting here and buying a I don't know, like a let's say an online course, or I'm buying some sort of product from an American website or something, which is quite common these days. Like people are buying things sitting here abroad, like especially information products, right? Like
Yeah,
Coursera's
yeah.
second biggest, category of students is from India, right? Coursera is an American website.
Correct.
After US citizens, there is Indian citizens, the second highest number. And
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of these companies do not have a presence in India, and we are buying their products. So how is India going to implement its GST? How is it even going to come to know who's essentially selling to Indians and how much they are selling? I mean, this is a question I always had. I wanted to ask somebody who's an expert.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so you are very correct. And the similar provision was even introduced in service tax in the last few years. It was introduced. Is that, let us say, a simple example of Coursera or Netflix. like everyone will be able to connect with it. So Netflix is something which is a US based subscription company, and if it is providing services in India,
Opened
and
opened
if it
India
is,
center also, right? Like they have a India base, they have an India
yeah,
office.
yeah. So let us take an example of Coursera. So if Coursera is not, let us say if Coursera is not having any office or any physical space in India, but an Indian student who is purchasing from Coursera, Coursera is mandatorily required to get registered in India in GST, at least through an agent, or there are specific provisions for that. So how? So one is, this is a law of the country. Second is how they will be able to get this details is something which authorities have the information. One simple thing is banking channels, like banks have the information to whom the taxes are being paid to, especially when there is a foreign flow. Banks are also required to submit details to authorities that in which country the money is going, how it is going, where it is going, what is the purpose. They are revealing those details to the authorities, and from there is something where the information. That is the channel. Banking channel is something where people get information of this.
Okay. So you're saying that Indian banks will report it to Indian tax authorities, like where the money is going, and that's
Yeah,
how.
yeah, Indian banks have to report. There are a lot of transactions which are mandatorily required. Let us say if you do a mutual fund purchase of about 2 lakhs through your bank,
Yes,
it gets reported to the authorities.
correct. Okay. Yeah. So we can't hear you suddenly. Yeah, Jigar, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I had lost you in between. So all right. So so this is where the GST stands today. So in your opinion, what are the biggest benefits of GST that we are seeing today in our country?
So the first biggest benefit, as I said, was the laws have reduced. Second thing, so because the laws have reduced, even we have experienced, what happens is that initially if there was a trading company or a manufacturing company having different offices, they were required to have different professionals to be engaged in every state, because that particular professional or a chartered accountant or a lawyer was able to understand the law of that particular state. Now that is uniform, so that is one advantage. So a company is required to have only one consultant or one professional to comply with all the provisions in all the state. Second thing is the cost. Before GST, let us, I'm in Maharashtra, and if I purchase anything from Delhi, if I purchase any goods from Delhi, I was supposed to pay 2% CST. Now this 2% CST was my cost, because I was not able to take any input tax credit for that 2% CST. After GST got introduced, I have to pay GST, and now this GST, although it might be 5%, 12%, 18%, or 28%, but this GST is not my cost. Okay, so my cost has, directly straight, if I say, it has reduced by 2%. That is the second benefit. Third benefit, a major benefit, is that although we say that compliance is required, in long term, the compliances have reduced, because in DVAT or MVAT, I was required to produce my C forms, F forms, H forms, I forms, etc. to authorities, and this proceedings used to happen 2 years after GST. So the financial year 17-18's assessment will start in financial year 1920, and in 1920 or 2021, I will be asked to dig out all the physical forms, etc., and submit it to authorities. In GST, I'm not required to do all these things. There is no physical form that I have to submit anywhere, right? So this was a huge change. Fourth thing was that, let us say in MVAT, I can say, is every year, if my VAT refund at the end of the year was max, I was mandatorily required to to go for a refund. Now, by certainly required to go for a refund was that I had to go to the authorities. I had to physically go to the authorities, submit my documents, fight with them, and then get a refund. And you know what happens when we go to a government authority. Everyone faces, right? There is corruption which gets involved, etc. So I will not be required to do so, because whatever there is, whatever amount is there of GST, that gets carried forward. So these are few of the major benefits of GST for businesses. We can into these things.
Okay. So, in your experience, do you think
Also,
that
also because of GST, people, and coupled with demonetization, there is also increasing compliance. People want to be compliant, and once the filing process gets robust, once everything is in place, it will be very difficult to evade taxes. It will be very difficult to evade taxes, and because information is going through, IT, information technology, everything is going government. There will be linking of your GST returns with income tax returns, etc. So the financial discipline is definitely going to increase. So you will be surprised to know that the income tax returns, the individual income tax returns that we were 31st August, there is an increase of 70%. So 70% of number of people, more number of people have filed their returns. Last year there were about 3.62% of, the total population which filed, 3.62 cr people filed the returns. Today, in this year, almost 5.80 cr people have filed the returns. So there is a huge financial discipline that has happened in the country.
yeah, I think this is a really excellent thing that more people are paying taxes because people are very sad about only they
At
paying.
least paying taxes. I don't know about paying taxes, but at least they are filing returns.
They're
This is the
filing.
figure of returns filed. Yeah.
Correct. So eventually they'll have to pay also. I mean,
Yeah.
it has become more difficult to hide your income because of GST.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So, one question that I have is that has GST obviously is relying more on technology. So expectation is that it will reduce corruption. But in your experience, what is happening in reality? Has corruption also been reduced because of GST in the at least in the tax system?
So now this is something that we will be able to find out 1 year down the line, because the year has just ended. Issued, the corruption comes in when you go to the government office. Even now, if you want to take a refund or something, there is something that you need to pay, right? Those things, whenever there is a manual intervention, there is going to be corruption, which is a sad thing to express, but that is how it has been in our country so far. But
Hello. We can't hear anything, Jigar. We have lost you. Hello. Hello. Jigar, we can't hear you. We can't see you also properly. There's some problem with the internet, I think. Hello. Hello. Your frame is freezing and we can't hear you properly also. Can you hear me, Jigar? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we have lost Jigar. Uh, hello. Can you hear me? We cannot hear you, Jigar. Not at all. No, no sound at all. Now we can see you, but we cannot hear you. Nothing. No voice is coming through. Okay, we'll give some time to Jigar to figure out if there's some problem with his equipment. We cannot hear you, Jigar. So, I mean, I don't know how we can continue this. So, excuse me, I'll just get in touch with Jigar over phone and just restart this process.
Hello. Okay. Okay.
Hello. Hi, Jigar.
Yeah. Audible.
Yeah, now you're audible. Okay, great. So
Yeah.
let's
So this is so Ramanu. This is exactly what technical glitches.
right. So GST is
And
also suffering from technical glitches, and we had a demonstration of
and
this.
you yeah, and how annoying it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess the glitches are the worst for you guys because you have to work on this platform day in and day out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what is the expectation on the technology front? Is it going to improve? How is it going to improve? So, and who runs the GST network? We heard that government owns 49%, 51% is privately owned by a number of players who jointly own it. So, how does it work? And why are they having so much problem with the technology? And can we hope for something better in the future?
Yeah. So the GST network is a separate entity in itself. Actually, Infosys responsibility to build the platform, and to be very frank, they are not done with it. So that is where these Infosys was responsible for the portal. GST contract to the Infosys, and we have what we have right now. Multiple layers to this. So you have GST network, then you have GSPs, which GST Suvidha providers. Those are as on date, there are 108 GST Suvidha providers. GST Suvidha providers interact with the network. The idea was that if everyone starts interacting with the network, it will be manage the load. So this is being distributed amongst 108 GSPs. Now there are ASPs are providers. Anyone can become an ASP. Not a GST network. It is a front end, and then there is a taxpayer. So taxpayer has to interact with the ASP, and ASP GSP. GSP interacts with the. This is how the whole thing is structured and designed. There were issues with the network, the portal created by the network. Offline quite well. The expectation is that of time. Expectation is that it is supposed to improve further. From last 2 or 3 months, I don't see many issues. Site hang हो गया वगैरह, site नहीं चल रहा है. They have another challenge that network GST network might also have frequent changes in the return filing software, in the return filing format itself. So from I was also involved with an ASP, Sahi GST. I was their domain consultant. So the challenge that we faced was that if there is any slight change in a return, if there is a change in the field of a returns field, there were implications wherein we had to change our coding, etc., which becomes quite taxing. So that was a challenge which every ASP faced, and even network might be facing those challenges, because now no, recently the written filing has changed a lot. The rules are changing. The rules have changed. So now even they will have to cope up from technology front on that aspect. And also the volume you need to appreciate is that the kind of volume that you are dealing with in a country like India is just huge. Nowhere in the world GST has been implemented at such volume. And the vision that we had of matching invoicing and giving a reconciliation report to every taxpayer, it was something huge. It was a chance. It was a calculated risk. You might say that it was a calculated risk that the authorities took. It was very ambitious. It was very ambitious, but we fell short. We have taken corrective actions. The process now, which has been notified or which will start from January 2019, should be seamless. It should serve the purpose of matching of invoices, etc. And yeah, it should have benefits. It will have benefits.
Okay, so in your experience, as far as GST is concerned, has it created some new job opportunities? Has it created any new categories of professionals, or is it the same old professionals still providing the same service?
So I don't know about others, but chartered accountant will be happy with GST because they have got good new business. They got a good opportunity as far as GST implementation phase when there was GST phase. Definitely there are new opportunities for financial professionals like chartered accountants, lawyers. Even if you are if you are a practitioner, you can also become a GST practitioner. Yes, there is an opportunity over there, considering that there will be matching. Matching was supposed to be involved. What happened was there was supposed to be matching, which would have required good amount of manual work. That has not happened yet. So there is no GST matching running as such. But once starting from January, there will be definitely job creations, because these large entities, they will require a person or a team to that their supplier is uploading invoices so that they can claim input tax credit. So there will be definitely there is definitely job opportunities, etc. With uh, employment opportunity which was created for financial professionals, and not just financial, also professionals in IT sector. As I gave an example of, there were 108 GSPs which were filtered. Now, or I don't know the team that this GSPs might be having, but definitely at least there would have people team, right? At least in the TAC. And then there were ASPs, application service providers. There was an opportunity for business as well over there. All these businesses had employees. Even in the large companies, so when something like GST comes in, your software, your ERP software has to go through a change, right? You need to configure, you need to understand different aspects. So lot of technology professionals were required over there as well. So it has definitely created a lot of revenue for technology professionals as well.
Okay, but are there enough disputes around GST right now, or I'm guessing most of the disputes are yet to come after a year or so,
So
right?
disputes are, disputes are always there. Disputes keep on happening. As of now, what we have is, dispute happens in the form of advance rulings, because the assessment has not started. There is no dispute as such, but there is a lot of ambiguity. Correct. So we have so a taxpayer can go to the advance ruling with his query and ask for a solution. So there are a lot of advance rulings which come in day in day out. As far as dispute is concerned, there is anti-profiteering provision which is coming into play. There might be disputes over there, but apart from that, because the year has just ended, the disputes have not started, but taxpayers have started getting notices. Right, the notice that you will get is that the figure that you have disclosed in GSTR 3B does not match with your GSTR 2A, or your GSTR 3B does not match with GSTR 1. So you have started, taxpayers have started getting notices. You have to reply to those notices, and yes, action has started to happen from that front.
Okay. So, as far as the GST, it seems that the entire indirect tax collection agency of the government is right now really like at a loss as to how to handle with it. Like they're overwhelmed, is what I hear from my friends who are working in tax departments, and they're really overwhelmed. They know that a lot of people are getting away by not paying taxes, and they're trying to catch a few people, and it's just going nuts all over the place. So how long do you think this is going to continue in your estimate?
This should get stripped January onward. So if you see in the articles when there are frauds happening of hundreds of crores in GST. The reason that this is happening is a bit technical over here. The reason that this is happening is that a taxpayer is required to self-declare output liability through GSTR 3B. So let us take I'm a business. I say that my output 10 lakhs rupees. I pay 10 lakh ka tax. I will my invoices in GSTR 1. Now no one finds out that I have invoices of 1 crore. 1 crore का GSTR 1 में मैं 1 crore का GST का invoice भर दिया. Now this thing is happening automatically, which says that including invoice of GSTR 1, I have to 1 crore. I have to pay taxes of 1 crore. So I'm paying 10 lakhs rupees and upload GSTR 1. Now as soon as I upload invoices of 1 CR in my GSTR 1, a purchaser can take credit of this 1 CR. So the purchaser is taking credit of 1 CR and the seller is paying 10 lakhs. This is where the fraud is happening. Now this is because only one thing, initially it was designed in such a way that first you upload your invoices, then you upload your first you upload your sales invoices, then you upload your purchase invoices, and your liability will get calculated automatically. Now this did not happen. Because of this, people, notorious people are taking advantage of this, and they are doing this frauds. Now by the time the department will realize that this has happened, 6 months have gone by, and people are now absconding with money. Now who stops you to create an entity and generate fake invoices and give input tax credit, sell input tax credit in market? That is what which is again very sad. But eventually they will get caught.
Okay. So this is quite a bit of a problem, but I guess the only solution lies with a better technological platform. So, what is the like the how has it affected tax revenue? Like, is actually the collection of taxes increasing in India, or is there any improvement in terms of businesses going? We heard that initially it was a big shock to to business, but how is it impacting the industry overall?
So as far as businesses are concerned, the law has streamlined. The compliance has also streamlined. Now businesses are not struggling to file their GST returns on time. Their processes are streamlined. They know what is supposed to, what they are supposed to do, how they are supposed to do it. Have definitely, as far as compliances are concerned, businesses are streamlined. GST audit has not started yet. once the GST audit starts, there will be new set of challenges which will come in. So this first GST audit might be a challenge. This first year's GST audit might be really a challenge. But even though after 2 years, after everyone gets used to the GST audit forms and the information required in GST audit, etc., it should settle down. But yes, initially, now compliances are streamlined. No one is facing any challenges to file their returns. GST audit is something which is once again required to be tested how that goes. Businesses are having clarity on the law. They know where they can claim input tax credit, where they cannot claim into input tax credit. They know where they have to charge GST. They know where they are not required to charge GST. They know what is the rate they have to charge. This was a huge challenge in initial 6 months, but this all things have streamlined now.
You are saying that basically it does not matter whether this GST should not matter too much to a business because it is you are getting your input tax credits. But even then, we have been hearing businesses complaining a lot, saying that GST has really impacted us, blah blah. Why is that? Why have people been complaining so much? In your opinion, is it only small businesses complaining mostly, or even big businesses who have been complaining?
So big businesses, I would say, big businesses are not complaining as such because resources cope up with the compliance. Okay, they have resources and take and stakes are very high. So if there is a GST, they will not mind employing two more people or five more people. They will incur that cost. A large corporation will not mind to incur that cost, but they will like to be compliant. They will like to make sure that they are getting their due input tax credit because stakes are high. Complaints generally come from small businesses wherein a businessman, they cannot afford to have a separate dedicated person to take care of their GST issues, right? They have one accountant. That one accountant has to deal with everything. He has to deal with income tax. He has to deal with GST. He has to deal with your TDS filings. He has to deal with etc. Now that accountant was doing a quarterly compliance earlier before GST. Now is required to do monthly compliance. He is required to take care of matching. He is required to give HSN details, right? So that is why small businesses are complaining from perspective. But if small businesses were compliant, right, in the earlier tax regime, they were paying their due taxes. There is no reason for them to complain. Only those, only apart from compliance challenges. Yes, compliance challenges something which all business face. But apart from that, if there was a business which is compliant, there is nothing that he needs to worry about from GST perspective.
Okay. So, if this whole GST is increasing the tax compliance of Indian business people and all the people, how is it going to? Do you think it's going to impact the country? Like, obviously, tax collections are likely to increase over time. So, how is it going to impact the entire country? Do you think tax rates may come down if there's a wider net of taxpayers?
Yeah,
How?
yeah, yeah, definitely tax rates will come down. I will not be surprised that if even 2 or 3 years down the line, apart from 5 slabs rate that we have, we come down to 2 or 3 slab rates. I will not be surprised. But so to say this, but we know that there is which happens in black, as we say in general terms. Slowly and steadily, if everyone gets compliant, if everyone gets compliant, definitely the tax rates will come down because the kind of collection that we will have will be huge. So this is something US. I was reading that Trump has Trump the income tax rates in US, and the collection has increased in US. The collection of taxes increased in US because of the reduction of tax rates. Because lot of businesses which were moving out of US came back to US. The US also, faced the same issue like India. Over there are like very high, or they were very high. But Trump which has enabled businesses which went out of US and do the right thing. So authorities will have to change of thinking that if so bureaucracy has a mindset that agar rate बढ़ाया तो tax collection बढ़ेगा, but that might not be the case. If you reduce the taxes, if it is easy for the taxpayer, more people will like to pay the taxes.
No, that is actually
So
true.
like till
Before GST was introduced, in we have heard this. I was in Delhi that point of time. What happened is that said when the AAP government came to power, they said we will stop all raids for as far as Delhi government is concerned. And after they stopped the raids, the Delhi VAT collection had gone up year on year. So I mean that
yeah.
is probably true. Because I think when there are raids and there's also chances for more corruption, and then people don't disclose their actual,
Yeah.
they can always get around.
So authorities and everyone in general, we need to understand that no one does. There are notorious people like Mr. Nirav Modi, etc. But a genuine business person or a citizen, he does not do business to do tax ka chori. He does business to earn profits, right? If you make his life easy, if you make his life easy, if you ensure him, because क्या होता था पहले, उसको पता था कि पैसा तो खिलाना ही है, तो मैं टैक्स क्यों भरूं? उससे अच्छा है तो मैं टैक्स नहीं भर के पैसा खिलाऊं. दोनों तरफ से अगर पैसा खिलाना ही है, तो बिजनेसमैन क्यों भरेगा टैक्स, right? Now this is something which will change because of technology which will come in GST. When businesses realize that, when businesses see the benefit, that if they are compliant, they are getting rewarded, there are no notices which are coming to them, then so the best thing that happened in income tax was increase of slab rate of presumptive taxation from 1 CR to 2 CR. Now if you are having a turnover of 2 CR, you just declare 8% of your total turnover and pay tax on it. People are happy to do that. कि चलो यार मैं डिटेल में देना नहीं पड़ा, मैंने मेरा फिगर डिस्क्लोज किया और मैंने टैक्स भरा. गवर्नमेंट कि उसको ये जो स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर्स हैं उसके पास इतना टैक्स आ गया, उसको नोटिस, वो अपना टैक्स कंप्लायंस करते रहेगा.
That's very true. So, but we have lost you again, Jigar. We can't. Can you? Are you there?
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I am here.
Okay, great. Now we can hear you. So, if you can tell us about, where do you see the future in terms of GST? What are the changes expected over the next 1 year or so? Although election year is coming up, we cannot expect major reforms. But what are the things on the cards even after the elections will be done in 2019? In your opinion, what is the way forward for even further improvements and next steps?
So as I said, there were some which were supposed to come in after we have evolved, but which came on day one. One of that was charge mechanism on unregistered dealer. So when the law was introduced, person, and if you purchase anything from an unregistered person, you are required to pay tax on that mechanism. That means even if मैं अगर मेरे ऑफिस में किसी शटर ठीक कराने को भी, शटर पे ग्रीस लगाने को भी देता हूँ, तो टैक्स भरने को आ सकता था day one. Okay. Now this is not there as of now. This is coming in next 2 or 3 years. But this particular provision also had its own benefit, because if you see what was happening was that those who are registered What happened because of this provision was businesses took a decision that they will not deal with unregistered dealers. अगर आपके पास जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर नहीं है, मैं आपके पास से this rewarding those who are compliant. मीन्स जिसके पास जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर है, जो जीएसटी का रिटर्न भरता है, उसको बिजनेस मिलता है। जो नॉन कंप्लायंट है, मतलब जिसका वैट, जिसका कुछ रजिस्ट्रेशन ही नहीं है, वो रिवॉर्ड हो रहा था क्योंकि उसके पास से 2 पैसा चीज सस्ती मिल रही थी। कैश में पैसा ले रहा है तो वो रिवॉर्ड हो रहा था, बिजनेस उसको मिल रहा था। बट कि जो रजिस्टर्ड है, जो कंप्लाई कर रहा है, जो रिटर्न भर रहा है, जो अपना ड्यू टैक्स भर रहा है, उसको बिजनेस मिल रहा है। सो दोज बिजनेसेस आर गेटिंग रिवॉर्डेड। आई सी वंस this everything gets streamlined and this businesses gets rewarded, right? I see this is going to be a huge benefit. In next 1 year, the returns that we file as of now will see a 180-degree change. There will be, I'm not saying 360, but there will be a 180-degree change, because the manner in which we are filing returns will change. You will get input tax credit. A purchaser will get input tax credit only if the supplier has uploaded the invoice. So it will be now your responsibility to ensure that your supplier is invoice and he is making payment of tax. Those who are compliant will get business, because as a purchaser, I will like to do business only with those people who returns on time, who are paying their taxes on time.
Right. Okay, so I think we have come to the end of our session. It is just a couple of minutes left. So before we wrap up, any final messages, Jigar, that you want to share before we go?
Before I would end, I will just say that, overall till now, I know we all know that it has been a difficult journey, but I would say the bad part or the worst part has gone. Now what we have is, बोलते ना वो केवा में गुफाओं के अंत में रोशनी होती है। अभी अपने को, now we can see that रोशनी coming in. So now things should get streamlined. We should be positive about this. We as a nation should get compliant. We as a citizen should believe, in get compliant. Imagine if 130 CR का population है, everyone gets compliant, definitely GST rates will come down, costs will come down.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Despite all the internet troubles, we have managed to somehow conduct this. I will later on get to see on YouTube how good the videos actually came. But yeah, I apologize to everybody for a little bit of internet disturbance today. But thank you so much. Only a few people watched till the end. Thank you so much for joining us and staying till the end. Definitely subscribe to the LawSikho channel, so that if there is any other video, we keep doing these every day, 8 to 9 p.m. And there are a lot of, also on Saturday we do it 4 to 5 p.m. Sunday we don't have an hour with LawSikho. We definitely hope to have you back. Do subscribe. Also, we are planning to, we have got a lot of feedback on very long videos. So we are going to take out certain questions and answers and post them as shorter videos. So definitely share, subscribe to the channel and comment and let us know what else you want us to cover in the future. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Jigar, for joining us and spending your valuable time sharing your insights. So hope to have you back again soon.
Sure, yes. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good night and goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.